And like, I mean, so I just feel like for me, staying true to myself just means doing the things that I like, no matter who don't like it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
like,
yes.
I know for me, as you know, I like to read. You know what I'm saying? I got hundreds of books, and that's what I like to do. And it ain't popular. Everybody don't like doing it, but I feel like that's something that has pushed me through. You know what I'm saying? And got me to where I can sit at the tables that I sat at throughout my life. You know what I'm saying? Just by simply reading, and that's what I like to do. And people are like, "Oh, what you doing? Read? Oh, that's boring." You know what I'm saying? But I mean, it's getting me to where I'm going every day. You know what I'm saying? So that's
Do you
something.
regret staying true? You aren't following the crowd.
Exactly.
Because if you're following the crowd, you're not necessarily being true to yourself. Because when you being true to yourself, you're not necessarily messed up about what the next person around you says.
Exactly.
You're wanting to do what makes you happy, if I'm right, correct?
Yeah.
Which means you have to be a leader. Which means y'all follow me in the right path and let me help you. Or y'all follow me and let me show you what it means to be true.
Right.
True to self.
Yeah, and then on top of that, like, people want to rep like Nipsey Hussle, the marathon and stuff like that, but it's like, you gotta understand what he's saying too. Like, he's saying it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't about who can get there the fastest. And I had to.
It's the endurance.
It's the endurance.
Because I feel like I'm pushing my forever true, but I feel like certain people aren't getting it. Go back to when you talk about Nipsey Hussle, when you talk about the marathon, because a lot of people has jumped on his bandwagon, and I'm using Nipsey Hussle for an example.
Right.
Because I love Nipsey Hussle, but I'm not on his bandwagon.
Right.
Why? Because I wasn't on his bandwagon when he was alive.
Right.
But his meaning, his marathon continues, all of that. I want to keep it in my brain.
Right.
Because you're right, it isn't a sprint. It isn't about who goes first. It isn't about who wins first. It's the endurance that you have to keep going. Exactly. This man, if we use Nipsey Hussle, been shot at, been robbed, been down to the very bottom. He's not even from the United States, or his bloodline isn't.
Right.
So you from Africa, you've seen a different type of living.
Yeah.
Do you honestly feel like, say for instance, your people, not the ones that's in the doctor world with you, but your regular people, do you feel like they could go to Africa and make it?
I know so.
Tell me why.
I think that
now he's shouting y'all out because I don't think y'all can. Y'all gonna have to come holler at me.
I think so. I was in the West. I'm gonna give context. I was in the Gambia, West Africa. It's right where Akon is from, which is Senegal, and right on top of Sierra Leone, where you hear about the diamonds and they made the Kanye West song. So I was right there, and I was there for 2.5 years, and I feel like it was so many opportunities that the natives didn't necessarily see because they were there, and they didn't necessarily have the money to invest in what they needed to make thrive. But I feel like for me, I'm like, damn, look at all this land. Like, who own this land? They're like, nobody. You own it? I'm like, wow. So one of the major productions they had there was cashew nuts. Now, you know, if you go in the store and you get peanut cashews or cashew peanut, whatever you call them, they're gonna be like $5 a can for that little bitty thing of cashews. So cashews are really, really valuable, and they grow these things, and then they get big bags of it, and they sell it for like $10.
So your $5 in U.S. money is a penny in Africa.
Exactly. So you can live like a king over there. Like, so what you can get for $50,000 over here looks like 3 times what you can get for $50,000 in a mansion in West Africa, the Gambia, where I was at. If you want to just go over there, okay, the flight gonna be $2,000. That's there and back. So our $1 is like 50 of their dollars. So you see the influx and the turnover already. So when you get there, hotels are like $600 a night. That's like equivalent to like $10 of our money a night, and that's probably the most fanciest hotel they got. So you can really go over there and you can really play with the value system from the American currency, and you can really do damage in the financial world. Especially if you want to get into gardening, agriculture, or anything with planting anything, that's definitely the place to go, because they'll sell you a big plot of land, maybe like 50 by 50, let's say half of a football field, for maybe $5,000. And you could grow cashew nuts, what planters sell in the store here. You could grow a whole field of those, pay some people to cultivate them for you. You ain't even gotta necessarily touch it, because you probably don't know what you're doing anyways. Play some people that know what they're doing, get their hands dirty, pack them bags up, put them on flights, put them on put them on flights, get them to planters or to wherever, or these agricultural industries, and you could thrive. But the hardest part is getting uprooted from America and getting over there, because you got bills on the 1st, you got bills on the 15th, you know what I'm saying? So getting out of this system that we in long enough to actually be like, you know what, I got a space or vacation time to actually go somewhere and do something.
They're not in the system the way we're in the system.
Nah, they don't even, their concept of time is totally different. Totally different.
Do they have a watch out there?
They don't even use watches.
They use the sun,
They
am I
use
correct?
the sun. Yeah, so when the sun rises, they may say like, they use breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they use the sun. So they may say after dinner, after lunch, after breakfast, before breakfast. They use prayer because they're Muslims. So they may say before the fourth prayer, before the last prayer, to correlate time.
Damn.
So
That ain't even that's not even a marathon. That's literally just living.
That's living.
That's
living.
literally just living. If you think about it, because if you're in a marathon, you got what? How many? If you're thinking about it in that aspect of a marathon, you got what? 12 hours to complete something.
Yeah.
Down there, you ain't even got a time.
Ain't no time sheet.
It's no time.
And most of the people that are doing what they're doing, if they're planters, if they're agriculturalists, their parents were agriculturalists, and this has been taught down through generations of generations. So it's not even necessarily they feel like they're going to work. They feel like they're going to do something that was left for them to do, versus I gotta go over here and really actually work.
So generational wealth definition is different out there.
It's
compared
totally
to
different. It don't look like money. It looks like.
Would you say money is the root of all evil, or would you say money rules the world? Because Tupac said pussy rules the world.
I feel like Tupac said a lot of stuff. Some true, some not. I feel like when it comes down to money, I feel like I don't necessarily think it's the root of all evil, but I definitely think it plays a big part in what evil is. I think it can. It depends on who hands it's in. Because I just can't say, oh yeah, for everybody, when you get money, you're going to turn evil. You know what I'm saying? It depends on the mind, the mentality holding the money. So I think that we get it misconstrued because we think that the money holds the value. And the thing about the money holds the value, yes, money holds the value, but money flows through the people. So you got different capitals. You got financial capitals, which we tune into like, I need money, money, money. But also that's what I learned in Africa, you need people just as much as you need money. Because if you don't got a social currency, you won't have any money. So you have to build social currency and human capital in order for you to get financial capital. So we use things like Instagram and Facebook to build up our social capacity so that people can know who we are when we actually get a brand and try to sell it. But it's so much distrust in the black community. It's so much mischief that's going on. It's hard to build that social currency and that social capital that you need to actually thrive financially. You look at the logistics of it, the people in Africa didn't understand the idea of a dope dealer. They couldn't grasp that because they were like, well, he's selling drugs to his own people? But he's on the side. When it turned out to men, he's on the higher end of the social hierarchy for men, but he sells drugs to his own people. Like, where's the loyalty? Where's the loyalty in that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like the white people would sell us the drugs or give us the drugs just so we can deteriorate our own people. So when you go to Africa, they want you to if you say, for instance, you're doing something illegal out there, they want you to flip the script, not give it to your own people, but give it to the enemy. That way your loyalty, because if I'm not mistaken from what I'm hearing, the loyalty is big out there.
Oh, yes,
the trust is big out there. If you saying you need people more than you need money, which means you're going to do right by the person quicker than you are going to do right by a piece of paper.
Exactly.
Am I correct?
Exactly. But see, we hold so much trust into a piece of paper and we don't understand that it's the people that make the money, not the money. Exactly.
It's just like you working for a corporate, dealers. Sally's. And don't fire me. Don't try to do none of that. I'm just saying because I've worked for y'all. You have the high toppers who not even work in the business. Right. But you have the sales associates, the beauty advisors who's real deal putting in the work to get your product sold. Right. But what are you doing for these people?
Exactly.
What are you actually doing for these people?
Have you met the top person?
Will you?
Exactly.
And if he does come into the building, will he even speak to you? Will he literally treat you?
And he might just got on a t-shirt and some jogging pants, so you probably won't even notice.
It's happened to me, so I know.
Right.
Like, I didn't even know until my manager, she said, that's such and such, and I was like, oh well, let me talk to him. Like, I want to talk to him.
Right.
He didn't want to talk to us.
Interaction.
Do you want better? Sally's in Mississippi, and I'm gonna give them their prop as far as the store goes with Miss Christine, with my manager at that time. Her store is phenomenal compared to the North Little Rock Sally's, compared to the Little Rock Sally's, compared to the Southwest Sally's.
Right.
Those Sally's are horrible compared to mine. If you think about it, Mississippi is one of the crab eating bucket type cities. It's a man eat dog eat kind of world cities. Like the murder rate is higher.
Right.
It's dirtier.
Which city was you in?
Jackson.
Jackson. Okay.
One of the scariest cities you ever want to live in.
I heard about that.
Meaning, the guy came in with the human resources, or was it the theft part? One of them. He was in corporate. He was a black suit type guy, white man. Didn't even want to speak to us.
Wow.
What type of business is that? That's why people get mad. That's why I don't understand. And I'm going to say this because it really frustrates me, because you have people who know for a fact that I don't want to work for the white man being my color. I'd rather work for myself. You don't get treated right working for the white man. So let me build something on to where I can have for myself. But it's just like you said, people in Africa love their people. We don't love our people the same. And you cannot deny and say, no, they should. No, you do not love your people the same.
And it's really hard to compare, because where I was at, I was in a bastardized environment where they've been colonized so many different times by so many different people, by Arabs, by Europeans, by religion, by so many different things.
Meaning they try to vanish their places.
Exactly. They've become so uprooted from what their ideologies were. In terms of pre-colonial times, that it's almost like they don't even know. I know more about African culture sometimes
than they know about themselves,
and they're there. But what stood strong in them was that system of kinship, that system of, because a lot of people be like, oh yeah, you a king, I'm a queen, I'm a king out here. But whole time, like, if you understand, like, the traditional Africa, they were monarchs, they were matriarchs. They wasn't patriarchs. So it was the queen mother that ran the village. It wasn't the king that ran the village. It was the mother that ran the village. And they went off, and you inherit the throne as a king through your mother, not through your father. And those were the type of pre-colonial ideas that we had that are totally different from what we know today.
Yeah, because today they think the man rules.
Exactly.
And don't get me wrong, men know more sometimes in certain situations, but women know in a different aspect. A man will look at it as into straight survival. Depending on who raised them, depending on how they were raised. But compared to a woman nurtures, which means she's gonna multiply no matter what. If I'm not mistaken, that's what needs to happen, or that's what's happening in other places.
And see, when you look at the matriarch, they think that, they know that it's better to give women all the wealth went to women. And still today, the women dominate.
Shit. I'm sorry, y'all.
The women dominate the African market. If you go to try to buy something, it's more 8 times out of 10 it's going to be a woman selling it to you. But now through religion, it says, whatever you sell as a woman, you got to pay back to your husband. But before that, before religion, or before this aspect of your European ideology, they kept that money. And they held the money, and they paid the taxes on whatever was going on, But now we got this idea of, if I get money, then it circulates in a masculine domain, and that's not necessarily correct, because if you look at the pre-colonial context and all this type of stuff, the women chose the king. The women were the gateholders to the money or to the assets. They were the agriculturalists. They went out and grew things, so they had life and death on their hand, because if they grew something, they need to know if it was going to fit for their kids and for their family. So they had a big job, you know what I'm saying, in these pre-colonial contexts, but things change. But here, we got to grasp the concept that everywhere else is not always better. And that's what I had to learn myself. Like, just because, people romanticize Africa, like, oh yeah, Africa, the motherland. And when you go over there, it's not exactly that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of like, and then I'm like, y'all don't know who Mansa Musa is? Like, y'all ever heard like the Egyptian pyramids? And they looking at me crazy, like, because if you go into their school system, they're learning British English, they're learning British English, British history, British mathematics system. They're learning like a lot of British, where I was specifically, a lot of British colonial ideology. They're not learning African ideology. So the same system they're implementing in our school districts is being implemented in theirs. So we have to get to, we got to understand what privilege we have as black people being in America. And not saying it's the greatest one, but it could be, we have something to at least start with if we start thinking together and reading is another one, but it's just kind of like the reading thing is like, oh, it's boring. And a lot of us didn't read in school. I didn't read in school. That's not something. I didn't either. Yeah,
y'all know, Desha, I was like a class clown. Baby, I hated it. I did read in English because I liked some of the books.
Right.
But I didn't read like that either. I didn't. Yeah. You would think I did, but I didn't.
Wow.
I didn't. I mean, it's just like you said, it's boring, but it wasn't boring if it was all black history.
Exactly.
But now, like you just said, they taking away from us. They want us to read on their stuff, and their stuff is just as false. Right. They picked from what we did and made it theirs.
Right.
So it's like, why would we read this?
Right. Why we want to learn?
Why do we have to learn what you falsely did, what we did first?
Right.
You put a white man out here and try to hold something down, and you put a black man out here and try to hold something down. I guarantee you the black man gonna win.
Right.
It's just like what happened today. I had an interview today. Make sure we get this. I had an interview today. And I'm not going to tell y'all where because I might need this job.
Right.
But I had an interview. And the lady told me, she said, now, we all look alike. You got to read between the lines sometimes. We all look alike.
Right.
I want you to smile when you get with this lady. I don't smile no more. But I need you to do it so you can get your foot in the door.
Right.
What did she mean by that? She said the lady who going to interview you next wants you to answer these questions by the book.
Right.
Meaning what? Baby, I can't just read and write to you what I can do. Why? Because I'm better off showing you.
Exactly.
She said, do you not know who you speaking with? Yeah. She said, I look just like you. Do I not?
Yeah.
She's black, just like me, which means what? We have to prove ourselves quicker than we can tell you anything.
Right.
Why? Because a white person don't even believe that we can do anything.
And a lot of times we don't believe that we can do anything. And I think that's what one of my goals is in turning that away from like, yeah, I understand what whiteness has done. And I understand what whiteness continues to do. But we got to get to a point as black people where we can look ourselves in the mirror and actually face what we're dealing with. Because as long as we point the finger with one hand and the hand out with the other hand, we can never make no progress. You know, we got to come together. And if we don't come together and look at ourselves and say, okay, let's look at our black men. And let's call a spade, and let's have a conversation. And until we're starting to have conversations about like racism and how it operates and how it's a trickle down effect all the way down to the black community. And sorry, until we start talking about sexism and mental health and how important this is and how trauma is ruling our communities and stuff. Until we have these conversations in our households, they don't have to be public platform, but in our households, we're not going to be able to grow as people because it's kind of like, all right, white people are here, you're here, now what? What do we need to do to get there? Exactly. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Oh, well, they not giving us, they not handing us, they brung us here, whatever. With all that being said, so you're gonna sit where you at? Yeah. Or are you gonna make the change? Or are you gonna make the change necessary? Exactly. So it's just kind of like the world works like cells in our body. Either it grows healthy and survives and multiplies, or it kill it, or you get one bad cell and it kills the rest of them off and it causes cancer, which we're dealing with a lot of times in our black community. You hit that one on the nail. Go back into believing in yourself. How do you feel like, what do you need to do in order to say, I believe in myself? I feel like before you can actually believe in a self or in yourself, you have to know yourself to believe in it. And I feel like there's a lot of false confidence out here, you know, because we got Instagram now. You can post your shoes, you can post your whatever and be like, oh yeah, I'm flexing or whatever. But when you meet this person in person, they like, closed doors, what up, fool? What's good? You like, that's you? Like, you the same person? You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of like we growing these social platforms for ourselves. And it's like, oh, this person must believe in themselves because they got 10K likes or they got 10K followers. You know what I'm saying? This person must believe in themselves. And we're using that as a form of currency when it doesn't apply to anything, you know? So I just feel like when it comes down to believing yourself, you got to know yourself. You have to know yourself. You got to know yourself before you believe in yourself. That's really important. I feel like when you look at our great leaders, you know what I'm saying, both men and women, when Rosa said she wasn't getting up, she wasn't getting up. It's a dub. Like, but she knew that somebody was going to be behind her. And if somebody wasn't behind her, she still was going to sit where she was at. Mm-hmm. That's inner self-strength. And when you got the inner self-strength, you can manifest that into ways to where you can eventually believe in that strength. But if you don't know that you got that strength, you have nothing to believe in.
So how would you know you have that strength? Is it when you are down on your luck? Is it when you are in a situation like Rosa Parks, for an example, or Malcolm X, for an example? Is it down when you like I say this all the time when I preach Forever True.
Right.
You can be true when you are it's harder to be true when you are by yourself and it's nobody else there. You can easily slip.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I mean women. I'm gonna use women because I'm a woman.
Okay.
And I'm gonna say domestic violence because that's a tough one.
That's tough, yeah.
Women in that situation sometimes feel like they can't get out of it.
Right.
They'll go to somebody and somebody look at them crazy and be like, well, you shouldn't have fucked with that nigga, or you should never did this and this. Damn, now, if I'm coming to you for that help, what does that mean?
You need help.
I need help.
Right.
So if I'm coming to you and I'm saying I need help and you still shut the door on me, how am I even supposed to believe in myself?
Right.
How am I supposed to find that inner strength?
Right.
When you get the nerve to say, I'm going to just go for it, some of them don't make it out.
Right.
And that's when they found out their inner strength, when it's too late.
Right.
So when that happens, you still have to stay. Like, that's Rosa Parks. Let's just say that. She could have sat there and said, I ain't moving. She could have died that same day. No white man could have said, fuck you,
right.
pop, gone.
Which a lot of women, black women did suffer to that.
So it's like, when you find your inner self-strength, how do you know you found it? How do you know? Because you know you need confidence.
Right.
You know you need that inner strength, but you need that mental strength to say, no, I can do it.
Right.
How do you get to that point to say, no, I can do it?
I feel like you definitely got to do a self-analysis and do self-reflection. You know, whatever way you do that. You know, some people, they get high and they talk to their friends. They listen to music or whatever. While you doing these different things, self-reflect. Remember that time I did that? Dang, I really came through that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's cool to self-reflect. You ain't talking to yourself. You ain't crazy. You just self-reflecting. You know what I'm saying? And when you notice the different patterns that have came with your behavior and came with the character that you stand on, then you're like, okay, I got reason behind why I stand where I stand, because this happened, that happened, that happened. In this situation, I was like this or that. You know, so I just feel like when you do that self-analysis and that self-reflect, I feel like you can get a lot further. You know, you got to get past ego too. And I feel like that's something that I struggle with. You got to get past the ego, because the ego is tricky. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like...
Define ego to me in your words.
It's a false sense of self. It's the false sense of self. It's the self that you want to be. It's the self that you used to be, that you feel like you could be today. It's the self that is in the future when you get your money and you get your bag. It's all these different selves that you think about every day. It's everything outside of who you are today, right now, at 619. It's the ego. When you get past the ego and all these false identities and false realities of who you are, then I feel like you get to actually see and self-reflect on who you actually are. Because I mean, there's a split screen between, you know, the voice in your heart and the voice in your brain, you know, and you constantly at battle with them, you know, especially when you're in the environment with other people. And nobody's an island. Nobody's, you know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, I'm me because I'm me. I'm self-made. You know what I'm saying? Yes, it's great that you're self-made.
How are you self-made?
In the context of that, you have a cultural identity. Everybody has a cultural identity. Cultural identity is the self that you are around your peers and the people that you love. And that helps you build who you are as a person. But a lot of our families in the black community where I come from are traumatized, where they didn't get that family that they needed. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So they didn't get that kinship. They didn't get that sense of culture. As they say, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes.
They didn't even get the village.
The village, yes.
You see them at 73% of our black men not in the household.
Yeah.
I don't care what happened. That don't matter. 73% is a national embarrassment. You know what I'm saying? But nobody's calling out these black men. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of like the cycle perpetuates itself. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's just like now we got LRSD, you know, for example, they wanted to segregate the schools for whatever reason. And you know who was in the front line of that segregation and then to why it didn't happen? Women. Women were out there in the forefront for their kids. Women and guns, the gun violence, they all stood together and they came together and said, this is not going to happen. How many black men did you see out there in that crowd? Maybe a few. But it's just like black men, we have to get to a point where we actually know who we are and we can believe in that self that we trying to gain in the future. And we can't do that without being in our kids' lives. You know what I'm saying? A lot of dudes don't even know how to communicate to a woman. You know what I'm saying? But it's opt off is normalize. Is we normalize it. Oh, men are just emotionally distant. No, they're not.
Nope, because men have just as many as emotions as a woman.
Exactly.
A woman is just, I'm not even going to say trained, but a woman grew up to endure just as much BS a man may claim that they're going to and still have to keep going.
A lot of what men is dealing with is right there in their heads. Is the fact that they can't say it. A lot of what they're dealing with is the fact that they can't say what they're dealing with, or they don't know how to say. They don't know how to say it.
Exactly. It's not even what's going on in their brain. It's the fact that, like you said, they don't even know how to say it.
Right.
So with them not knowing how to say it, they're lost.
Right.
And with them being lost, they're lost in, and I'm not gonna say they're scared, but they're scared.
Right.
Because they just do not, they don't know the
income. A lot of men are scared. If you listen to these rappers, we've turned black male trauma into this multi-million-dollar business. If you look at it, if you listen to NBA Youngboy and these different dudes, they telling you how depressed they are. They telling you how traumatized their life has been. They're telling you that they've thought about suicide, and we just bobbing our heads to it and paying for it on our music.
But that's the younger generations. What about the older ones?
Even the older generations, I feel like the older...
They're not telling you how depressed they are.
Exactly.
They're telling you what they're doing to get through it.
Yeah.
They're not even telling you they're depressed. They're telling you
because literally... depression was a taboo, I feel like, kind of in the black community for a long time. Ain't nothing wrong with you, boy, you just this. Or ain't nothing wrong with you just this. Like, there was nothing necessary. Even when we have rape violence going on in our families, we know nobody said anything about it. You know what I'm saying? Because it was kind of like, oh, we kind of like anti-depression around here. If something it happened, we don't even know how to approach it, so we're not going to approach it. So you got two Chester molesters sitting in these living rooms for all these Thanksgivings and Christmas. Ain't nobody going to say shit to them. You know what I'm saying? Because we have no conflict management. We have no conflict resolution skills as a family, as a culture, which I speak on in terms of what a child needs to develop that identity through that cultural identification. You have to have these different things if you're going to be effective in communication. But family teaches that. But a lot of our black men have not been raised in families. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, I know for me, like, my dad, I never seen him, I don't even think I ever see him kiss a woman. I ain't never seen him say nothing sweet to a woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, every time a woman that came around that I know of, it was always either he looked mad at him or he was being emotionally distant. You know what I'm saying? And my mom, like, I've never seen my mom smile in front of a man as if she's really, really happy. You feel me? Like when you grow up and you're not seeing these different things that affect the way you love.
The norm.
It's a norm. You know, it affects the way you love. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that creates this, well, I can speak for black men since I'm a black male. It creates this social hierarchy that we got to break down quick. So for example, the Boosie situation that everybody been kind of speaking on. Boosie sits at the top of our social hierarchy. You can say what you want, but Boosie and Boosie's type of maleness sits at the top of our hierarchy. He says that he paid for a grown woman to come in and pretty much molest his son. But because he sits at the top of this hierarchy, that's okay to do. You see what I'm saying?
I didn't even believe that, but now it's crazy because I hear it so much.
Oh, the situation itself?
Yeah.
It's crazy. And these people sit at the top of our social hierarchy, not because they got a lot of money, because we don't know how much money that man really got. You know what I'm saying? But if you click on his live and he telling somebody, oh, let me see your cat, or let me see your private, you know what I'm saying?
That's the norm.
That's the norm. You know what I'm saying? Everybody
they look up to that.
They look up to that, exactly, because in their household, it's nothing for them to look up to anyway. So, I mean, and then in our school districts, black men encompass for like only 2% of teachers.
The real black men, because there's a lot of you fake peons out.
It's a lot of mischiefs, and I hate it because they make it bad for all the black men.
Yeah,
and like, for example, I think it was a guy arguing about a plate. He said that when he come home, he want his woman to have him a glass plate out and not no styrofoam plate. It was on Facebook, and I'm like, bro, you know, you just spoke for all the black men in America with this dumbass phrase because it just went viral. You know what I'm saying? So you get these narratives and like, bro, is you gonna help her wash the dishes, my nigga? Like, is you contributing in her household? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing in context? I understand you went to work, the whole world did, but what about that says that you have more value than this woman, and the fact that she put 2 hours in cooking whatever she cooked you, and she put it on this type of plate?
I do you one better. back in the day when our grandparents, yes, they ate off of a paper plate. I mean, off of a glass plate.
Right.
But that's back in the day. They didn't see fit to spend money on a goddamn paper plate.
Who cares?
Who cared about it? As long as you had water and soap,
Right.
that's all that mattered. You gotta think about it in that aspect. Back then, because money was, and back, I don't know, $75 was a lot of money.
Right.
Back then.
Back then, yeah.
So with that being said, if an older guy says, I need a glass plate back then that's what he got.
Right.
Because it wasn't paper plates in the house.
Right.
So damn washing the dish, damn contributing, because back in the day, our papas paid for that house.
Right.
Believe it or not.
And it was a different structure. A lot of black women controlled the funds in like the 50s
Yep,
and the 60s.
I do. Yep, my grandparents on my daddy's side, my grandma handled all the